Hello there, this is Overflow, and today, it's been a long while, but today we're going to review GNOME 42. So, right here I have GNOME 42, I already downloaded the ISO. Apparently if you wanted to use it in the virtual machine, you have to do it in boxes. It's technically not true, you could just choose the install on hardware option and grab the ISO that way, but let's ignore that. We're going to give it 4 gigs of RAM and a little bit of storage, because we're not going to be using it like a main OS. So I've chosen boxes because I can't really care more to install something like VirtualBox. It's pretty simple, you just get it from Flatpak and then it installs. So it's a fairly normal install procedure, and you might notice that it starts off it feels like an elementary OS installer, where basically the first boot that you boot into the live media, that doesn't actually create any users. So it's called an OEM install, where all it does is that it puts the OS on the system and doesn't make systems and passwords or anything else. So I think that's pretty cool, as it will be helpful for people who just want to test it. But it's also a better concept for a Linux distro, in order for Linux to be more mainstream on the desktop, to make it easier for people to install. Because if you didn't know before, most Linux distros, especially what I'm thinking of right now of distros that use Calameres, if you're going to install the distro, you set everything up, you partition by yourself, and if you're someone like Lenovo or System 76, you can't really do that. You can't really just hand them a laptop with the Calameres installer and tell them to install it, because they don't know how it works. They don't know, hey, should I wipe my full drive? So I think this is a lot better, because you choose, hey, I want to wipe my drive. You choose these, and then all you have to do when I hit the power off button and I start up the virtual machine again, it's basically, I'll show you, it lets me into a first time login where I'll create my users and do all of that. Boot is actually pretty quick. I think this is based on some sort of Fedora Silverblue. I don't know. I think it's Fedora Silverblue. So there we go. And this is what I was talking about, where the first time you install is just this, but now it's basically you get a new computer, and this is how it looks. So we're just going to go with English US. And it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to turn it off. Time zone around central. Just keep stabbing until I get central. We're going to skip the now you get to create your account. So let's create Overflow, and then password. Let's just do 123, because this I just want to show you GNOME 42. So there we go. It's pretty easy to set up, and we'll take the tour. So it's pretty easy to set up, and the first thing you might already notice is that the window bars look different. Back then they used to have this pop-out thing, but now they don't. So I'm pretty sure this is the same overview, the tour, as it is in GNOME 41 and 40. Not exactly sure, but it also, I think they changed it a little bit, where they actually tell you that if you press the super key, you get to see the Windows and app, but it still doesn't tell you that you have to hit the show applications button to actually get to look at all the apps. So let's close that. And another minor thing is that they removed the rounded corners here at the top bar, which I do miss. I liked the idea of having rounded corners, and I don't know why that was causing performance issues, because you could literally just when someone sets a wallpaper, you could literally just overlay it. So let's pull up settings, and of course it's pretty glaring. The Adwaita theme has been changed, so now it's a lot more flat and modern compared to something like the Breathe theme, or the elementary style sheet is completely different, but it's pretty flat, and I like the modernness of the design. Although I probably will most people will just apply a GTK3 theme, but I think that Adwaita is finally one of them that competes, and it definitely looks better than the Ubuntu default Yaru. Of course, another new thing is that you get a system-wide dark theme, and I'm pretty sure this just switches from between Adwaita and Adwaita Dark, because those were already included in previous GNOME versions. Does it come with tweaks? It does not, and I don't know how to use a package manager. Pretty sure most time you're supposed to use GNOME software. But let's keep flipping through the settings. You get like dark and light wallpapers, which are pretty cool, and I kind of like this wallpaper of the pixels. It doesn't match with the actual icons because they're not pixels, but still pretty cool. You get dark and light wallpapers, and then you can like choose. This is all pretty basic. Multitasking is still the same. Most of these are still the same, but while I'm clicking through, you can really see how they changed it. Even like in the installer, it was different, as it was a lot more like pop-up buttons, but now it's a lot more flat. We don't get the performance power plan, but I'm pretty sure that's because we're in a VM. Clicking on clock was a little laggy. Display, everything's normal here. And then let's just look at about. So, of course, you have your standard QEMU PC and whatever. And of course, this runs on Wayland, which is pretty cool. I have an NVIDIA PC, and Wayland is running pretty well with GNOME. Not well with other desktops, but that's really cool. And of course, you get the software updates button, which I'm clicking and it doesn't do anything. So I'm assuming that's like in the later, if you have a system that can do that, where you can just press the software updates button. I know that it works on Fedora, but I don't know for any other system. So of course, date and time, that's all for. So let's look at the GNOME shop. This is the same as like whatever you already have. You can like install things. I think these are flat packs. Yeah, these are flat packs. Then you can hit install whatever. Let's see tweaks. They don't have tweaks. Ooh, and that's a really not good sounding like thing. Anyways, let's open up Gnome Web. It's still the same, so I think this is a pretty good example. So if we open up something like settings and compare it to Gnome Web, if you look at the top title bar, there's a pretty glaring difference. Like there's a shadow here, and there's this little border on the edge, while the newer GNOME just doesn't have it. It's a white border instead, and I think it carries over if you switch to the light theme. So it also has this like weird brownish gradient, and the newer one doesn't. And I'm pretty sure they changed this as well so it matches, and the lock screen wasn't really changed, but you can see everything's just a lot more flat, and I don't know if I like it, because as someone who uses more like multi things, I think this mix of flat and non-flat is kind of weird, but this is definitely a beta, so they could still smooth out like the weird parts of this having the non-flat. I think it's because it's not ported to GTK4, and of course this new theme is with GTK4. So my opinion on this, I think it's pretty cool, as GNOME looked the same. If we go back to like 3.38, 3.36, which oddly openSUSE Leap still has 3.36, even though that's a few versions behind, they all look the same, and they feel like they're kind of old. Like, if you took a stab at what year this was from, you could probably like guess 2011. This really gives me 2011 vibes, and this looks a lot better. And of course, if you don't like it, you could always install a new theme. And I think the dark mode's pretty cool that it's. And of course, if we look at the elementary OS dark mode interpretation, it's not forced, which I don't like, because it doesn't look the same across all apps, and sometimes you just get that like really bright app that just doesn't care about your dark theme. So I kind of like this idea of a forced dark, where the entire GTK theme is changed and you're forced to go with the dark mode, instead of just kind of telling things, hey, you're supposed to be in dark mode, but like we're not going to enforce it. And I don't think there's anything new in terms of apps. I don't know if Parental Controls is new, but we had that on elementary OS for a pretty while. There's also the new screenshot these like take a screenshot functions. They're pretty cool, I guess. Like we had we had these on like Mac OS and elementary OS for a pretty long time. So let's take a screenshot. You get the whole shebang, like a window. This is pretty cool. When you choose window, instead of just like dumping whatever you already have, it pops out all the windows, a selection, and of course a built-in screen record. And you can turn the pointer on or off. So let's not take a screenshot. And of course you also get the lock screen function, which are all inside of the settings. I think that's it. There's not much new. It's not a big jump like GNOME 40 was. It's definitely more of like a smaller jump. Anyways, that's it. I don't know when the exact date will be coming out, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.